Money, Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Picture this. It's Thanksgiving Day, decades ago. An 11-year-old boy stands in his small, quiet home. The dining table? Completely bare. No golden turkey, no warm stuffing, not even a hint of pumpkin pie. Instead, tension hangs in the air like a heavy fog while his parents argue, their voices bouncing off empty cupboards. The boy's stomach churns, knowing his family won't be celebrating anything today. Then, a knock at the door. His heart races. Could it be another bill collector? They certainly can't pay anyone right now. But the knocking continues, patient, yet persistent. Slowly, he cracks open the door and sees a tall stranger on their porch, arms loaded with 2 massive grocery bags. Without saying a word, the man smiles warmly, sets down bags overflowing with turkey and all the fixings for a proper Thanksgiving feast, then simply walks away. The boy stood there, absolutely stunned. His father had hammered into him that, quote, "Nobody gives a damn about anybody," yet here was a complete stranger, expecting nothing in return, proving his father wrong. That simple act of kindness hit like lightning, planting a seed deep in the boy's heart. If strangers could care about him, maybe he could care about them too. Right then he made himself a promise. One day, somehow, he'd pay this forward. That boy? He grew up to become Tony Robbins. He transformed into one of the world's most recognized figures, advising presidents, championship athletes, and billionaire entrepreneurs. But he never forgot what it felt like to have nothing. He never forgot the power of that stranger's gift. Then came the 2008 financial crisis, wiping out the life savings of millions of families, and suddenly, that same fear and desperation was everywhere. He knew he had to act. So he launched a 4-year mission, sitting down with 50 of the planet's most brilliant financial minds. We're talking legends like Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, and Carl Icahn. He asked them one straightforward question. In a game that seems designed to crush the average person, how do you actually win? He gathered their secrets, distilled their life's work, and shaped it all into a simple 7-step blueprint. The result? This book, Money, Master the Game. And listen, this isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. This is your roadmap out of the financial wilderness and into genuine freedom. By the time we're done today, you'll have that map. You'll spot the hidden traps and clever lies the financial industry uses to keep you struggling. And more importantly, you'll learn the simple truths that can liberate you and your family. So let's dive in. Imagine the world of money as this dense, treacherous jungle. It's packed with confusing paths, hidden traps, and predators who are seriously good at what they do. Most of us get dropped into this jungle with zero map and no guide whatsoever. We stumble around hoping to find our way, but usually we just end up lost, frustrated, or worse, becoming someone else's lunch. In this jungle, you're either the hunter or the hunted, either the chess player or the chess piece. Tony Robbins' entire mission with this book: hand you the map and transform you from chess piece to chess player. He kicks off with a fundamental question: what actually is money? It's not the paper in your wallet or those digital numbers on a screen. At its core, money represents power. It can fund a dream or finance a war. It can be a gift of love or a weapon of control. But what we're all really chasing isn't the money itself. It's the feelings we believe money will bring us. The feeling of freedom, of security, of having choices, of being able to care for the people we love. Here's the problem. Most of us have this completely backward. We think if we just grind harder and earn more money, we'll eventually find that freedom. But Tony shares story after story proving this is a dangerous illusion. Take boxer Mike Tyson, who earned nearly $500 million and still went bankrupt, or actress Kim Basinger, who made millions per movie, even bought an entire town, and ended up bankrupt anyway. These stories hammer home perhaps the most crucial lesson of all. It's not what you earn that makes you wealthy. It's what you keep. And not just what you keep, but what you do with what you keep. You need to make a fundamental shift from being a consumer in the economy to being an owner. And you do that by becoming an investor. Which brings us to the very first step on our path to freedom. And honestly, it's the most important financial decision you'll ever make. It has nothing to do with picking the perfect stock or some hot new investment. The decision is this: what percentage of the money you earn will you commit to keeping for yourself and your family forever? What portion of your income will you pay yourself first, before bills, before groceries, before spending a single dollar on anything else? This isn't just savings. Tony calls it your freedom fund. It's the fuel that powers your money machine, a system that, once you build it, works for you around the clock, making money while you sleep, until eventually you never have to work again. How does this machine work? It runs on the most powerful force in the financial universe, something so potent that Albert Einstein supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world: compound interest. To demonstrate its power, Tony tells this story about twin brothers, William and James. William starts investing $4,000 every year at age 20. He does this for 20 years, then stops completely at 40, never investing another penny. He just lets his money grow. His brother James waits. He doesn't start until he's 40, right when his brother stopped. James invests the same $4,000 per year, but keeps going for 25 years straight, all the way to 65. So who ends up with more at retirement? William, who invested for only 20 years, or James, who invested for 25? It's not even close. William, the early starter, ends up with nearly $2.5 million. James, despite investing longer, has less than $400,000. That's over $2 million difference, all because William gave his money more time to work its magic. He harnessed the incredible, almost unbelievable power of compounding. Now you might be thinking, that's great, but I can't afford to save. I'm already stretched impossibly thin. This is the story most of us tell ourselves, and it's a trap. Tony introduces the work of behavioral economist Shlomo Benartzi, who created a brilliant, painless solution called Save More Tomorrow. The concept is beautifully simple. You don't have to save more today. Instead, you commit to automatically saving a small percentage of your next raise. When you get a 3% raise, maybe 1% automatically flows into your freedom fund. You won't even notice it because you never had that money in your hands to begin with. Your lifestyle still improves with the other 2%, but your future is getting richer on autopilot. It's genius, tricking our brains into doing the right thing. So step 1, decide on a percentage, however small, and automate it. Make it non-negotiable. This is the fuel for your journey. But once you have fuel, where do you go? This is where we enter the jungle proper. Which brings us to step 2, become the insider. You need to know the rules of the game before you play, or you'll absolutely get played. Tony spent years uncovering the hidden truths of the financial industry, boiling them down into 9 fundamental myths, or as he sometimes calls them, the $13 trillion lie. The biggest lie of all. It's whispered by slick salesmen in expensive suits. Invest with us. We'll beat the market. They're selling you something called an actively managed mutual fund. The pitch is you're hiring a brilliant financial wizard who'll pick the best stocks and deliver incredible returns. Sounds fantastic. The only problem? It's pure fantasy. Tony reveals this shocking statistic. A staggering 96% of all mutual funds fail to beat the market over any sustained period. Let that sink in. You have a 4% chance of picking a winner. Worse odds than hitting on 20 in blackjack. Jack Bogle, the legendary founder of Vanguard, puts it perfectly. He says if you put 1,024 gorillas in a room and have them all flip coins, one will inevitably flip heads 10 times straight. In any other field, you'd call that luck. In the fund business, they call him a genius and slap his face on magazine covers. So if these experts can't beat the market, what chance do we have? The answer, Tony says, is refreshingly simple. Don't try to beat the market, become the market. You do this by investing in a low-cost index fund. An index fund is like a basket holding a small piece of all the top companies, like the S&P 500, which contains the 500 largest companies in America. By owning one, you're not betting on a single company. You're betting on the entire American economy. And as legends like Warren Buffett will tell you, that's been the best long-term bet in history. But the lies don't stop there. The next big myth: are fees just a tiny price to pay? This, Tony insists, is where they really rob you blind. The average mutual fund might claim they charge a 1% fee. Sounds tiny, almost harmless, but what they conveniently forget to mention are all the hidden costs. Trading costs, administrative fees, marketing fees. When you add everything up, the average mutual fund actually costs you over 3% annually. Still sounds small? Let's revisit the story of three friends: Jason, Matthew, and Taylor. They all invest $100,000 and earn the same 7% return for 30 years. The only difference? Their fees. Jason pays 3%, Matthew pays 2%, and Taylor pays just 1%. At retirement, Jason has $324,000. Matthew has $432,000. But Taylor, paying just that 1% in fees, has $574,000. She has nearly twice Jason's money, simply because she avoided those small fees. Over a lifetime, these fees don't just take a slice of your money, they steal your entire future. They're the single greatest enemy of compound interest. This leads to another trap, the myth of the broker, the friendly face telling you, "I'm here to help." Problem is, most brokers aren't legally required to act in your best interest. They operate under something called a suitability standard, meaning they only have to sell you something suitable for you, not what's actually best. Often, it's whatever pays them the highest commission. Tony uses this great analogy: a broker is like a butcher. Ask a butcher what's for dinner, and the answer's always meat. He's not about to tell you about the fresh fish down the street. What you need is a fiduciary. A fiduciary is like a dietitian, legally bound to act in your best interest. They don't earn commissions for selling you products. They're paid for their advice. Finding a true fiduciary, Tony argues, is one of the most critical moves you can make to protect yourself. The myths continue: the illusion of target date funds, the dangers of typical 401k plans loaded with hidden fees, the lies we tell ourselves about why we can't succeed. But by understanding these rules, you've already taken a giant leap out of the jungle. You're no longer playing blind. Now that you know which traps to avoid, it's time for step 3, make the game winnable. This is where we get crystal clear on our target. What's the actual price tag on your dreams? Most people either have zero clue, or they pick a number so astronomically huge it feels impossible, so they never even start. Tony shares this great story about a young guy at one of his seminars who, when asked his number, proudly declared $1 billion. $1 billion. Sounds impressive, right? But Tony started digging. What would you actually do with $1 billion? I'd have my own private jet, the young man announced. Okay, how much does that cost? Well, a Gulfstream jet runs about $65 million, plus millions yearly to maintain. But what if you just chartered a jet whenever you wanted to fly? That would cost maybe $250,000 per year. What else? Tony pressed. I'd buy a private island? Sure. You could spend $40 million building one. Or you could rent Richard Branson's private island for a week for about $350,000 and have a staff of 50 people at your beck and call. They worked through his entire billion-dollar dream list. When they calculated the real cost of the lifestyle he actually wanted, the grand total wasn't $1 billion. It wasn't even $100 million. It was $10 million. Now, $10 million is still substantial money, but it's a target you can genuinely aim for. $1 billion is fantasy. $10 million is a plan. To make the game even more achievable, Tony breaks financial freedom into 5 levels. The first, and most crucial, is financial security. This is the point where income from your investments covers your most basic needs for the rest of your life, without you ever working again. We're talking mortgage or rent, utilities, food, transportation, and basic insurance. Think about that for a moment. How would your life feel if you knew, no matter what happened, you'd always have a roof over your head and food on the table? For most people, that alone is freedom. And here's the beautiful part. When you actually sit down and calculate this number, it's almost always far, far lower than you imagine. For many people, reaching this first level of security is completely within reach. From there, you can climb to financial vitality, financial independence, and beyond. But it all starts with having a clear, achievable target. Once you've got your target, you need a plan to hit it. This leads to step 4. Make the most important investment decision of your life: asset allocation. You've heard the old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's the essence of asset allocation. It's how you divide your money among different types of investments: stocks, bonds, real estate. This single decision, more than any other, determines whether you stay wealthy. Tony simplifies this by creating 3 main buckets for your money. First is your security bucket. This is for money you absolutely cannot afford to lose. It's for safe, conservative investments that give you peace of mind. Think bonds or guaranteed contracts. The returns won't be spectacular, but that's not the point. The point is this money will always be there. Second is your risk/growth bucket. This is where you have opportunity for much higher returns. This is your wealth engine. It includes stocks, real estate, and other investments with more volatility but also more potential for growth. You have to be prepared to lose some of this money along the way. Third, and perhaps most fun, is your dream bucket. This is a small portion you set aside to enjoy life now, not someday in the distant future. It's for that vacation you've always wanted, that special gift for someone you love, or that experience that lights you up. This bucket is crucial because it gives you the emotional fuel to stick with the plan. It reminds you why you're doing all this hard work. The key is deciding on a percentage for each bucket based on your age, your goals, and your personal tolerance for risk. A younger person might load up the growth bucket, while someone nearing retirement will want more in the security bucket. But here's where Tony delivers something truly extraordinary. He asked one of the greatest investors of our time, Ray Dalio, founder of the world's largest hedge fund, a simple question. If you couldn't pass on your money to your children, but only a single portfolio that would work in any economic environment, what would it be? This brings us to step 5, Create a lifetime income plan with an all-seasons portfolio. Ray Dalio explained there are really only 4 seasons affecting our investments. 1. Economic growth rising. 2. Economic growth falling. 3. Inflation rising. And 4. Inflation falling. Most portfolios are designed to thrive in only 1 or 2 of these seasons. But Ray created a simple, elegant allocation designed to make money regardless of the economic weather. It's a specific blend of stocks, long-term bonds, intermediate-term bonds, gold, and commodities. When Tony's team backtested this strategy over the last 75 years, the results were mind-blowing. This portfolio made money 85% of the time. During the 2008 crash, when the market lost over 37%, this portfolio lost less than 4%. It offers steady, reliable growth that lets you sleep soundly at night. But Dalio's portfolio is only half the secret to a worry-free retirement. The other half is creating what Tony calls income insurance, a guaranteed paycheck you can never outlive. How? He reveals a powerful tool the ultra-wealthy have used for years that's recently become available to everyone. It's a specific type of contract, often called a hybrid or fixed-indexed annuity. In simple terms, it's a deal you make with a highly rated insurance company. You give them a portion of your money, and they give you a promise. That promise has several parts. First, your principal is 100% protected. You can never lose your initial investment. Second, your money grows linked to a market index, like the S&P 500. When the market rises, you participate in the gains. But here's the magic. When the market crashes, you lose nothing, zero. You get the market's upside with none of the downside. And the final part of the promise? At any point you choose, you can transform this account into a private pension, a guaranteed income stream, continuing for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. It's the ultimate antidote to retirees' #1 fear, outliving their money. With these tools in hand, you've now got a plan for every season of your life. This brings us to step 6, invest like the 0.001%, by learning from the Billionaires Playbook. In this section, Tony shares distilled wisdom from his interviews with the masters. While they all have different styles, he found they share a few core obsessions. First, they're all obsessed with not losing money. As Paul Tudor Jones, a trader who's gone 28 consecutive years without a losing year, told him, defense is 10 times more important than offense. Second, they all hunt for what's called asymmetric risk/reward. This fancy term basically means they look for opportunities to risk a little to make a lot. Paul Tudor Jones has a simple rule. He won't make an investment unless he believes he can make $5 for every $1 he risks. This allows him to be wrong 4 out of 5 times and still not lose money. Third, they anticipate and diversify. They know they can't predict the future, so they prepare for everything. And finally, they never stop. They're lifelong learners, constantly growing, and more importantly, constantly giving back. This leads us to the final step, step 7. Just do it, enjoy it, and share it. After all this planning and strategy, what's the final secret to a truly wealthy life? We've learned how to build a fortune, but how do we build a life? Tony says we're constantly making 3 decisions that shape our destiny. First, what are you going to focus on? Do you focus on what you have or what's missing? Do you focus on what you can control or what you can't? Second, what does it mean? When a challenge comes your way, is it the end or a new beginning? Is it punishment or a gift? And third, what are you going to do? Your actions are shaped by your focus and the meaning you create. The way to master these decisions, to live in a state of joy and gratitude, is to get outside yourself. The science is crystal clear. Money can buy happiness, but only when you spend it on others. Giving away even a small amount of money has been proven to create deeper and longer-lasting happiness than buying something for yourself. The secret to living is giving. This brings us full circle, back to that Thanksgiving Day when young Tony Robbins received a gift from a stranger. That act of giving changed his life, not because of the food itself, but because of the meaning he gave it. He chose to believe that people care, and that he could be a force for good. That belief has driven him to feed over 42 million people through his foundation. He ends the book with his own powerful story of hitting rock bottom. He was broke, overweight, living in a tiny apartment, blaming the world for his problems. He had only a few dollars left to his name. He went to a restaurant for an all-you-can-eat buffet, his last meal for who knew how long. While eating, he noticed a young boy, immaculately dressed, treating his mother with such love and respect. He was so moved by this small act of kindness. On impulse, he walked over to the boy, told him what a fine gentleman he was, and gave him all the money he had left in his pocket. He walked out of that restaurant with absolutely nothing, but he felt completely free. He was no longer a victim of scarcity. The anger, the frustration, the fear, it all vanished. The next day, a check arrived in the mail from a friend, paying back an old loan with interest, more than enough to get him back on his feet. Was it a miracle? Coincidence? Tony chose to believe it was a reward for giving from the heart. That was the moment he says he truly became a wealthy man. Because wealth isn't a number in a bank account. It's a state of mind. It's a spirit of abundance. And it's found not in what we get, but in what we give. So what do we take away from this incredible journey through Money Master the Game? For me, the most powerful lesson is one of empowerment. The financial world can feel like this massive, intimidating fortress, and we're just peasants standing outside the walls. Tony Robbins doesn't just show you a secret way in. He hands you the blueprints to the entire castle and tells you that you have the power to become its master. He demystifies the language, exposes the traps, and simplifies the strategies. He takes concepts usually wrapped in layers of jargon and complexity, like asset allocation and derivatives, and makes them accessible, makes them actionable. The story of the All Seasons portfolio from Ray Dalio alone is a game-changer. It's a strategy born from one of the most brilliant financial minds of our time, laid out so clearly that anyone can understand it, anyone can implement it. That's the genius of this book. It democratizes the tools of the ultra-wealthy. But beyond the practical strategies, the deeper message is psychological. It's about shifting your identity. You're not just a consumer, not just a wage earner. You're an owner. You're an investor. That shift in mindset is the foundation upon which all financial freedom is built. And finally, the book reminds us that the journey to wealth is meaningless if we lose ourselves along the way. The constant emphasis on gratitude, on contribution, on living a life of passion and purpose, that's what elevates this from a simple financial guide to a true philosophy for an extraordinary life. It's not just about building a money machine. It's about building a life that's rich in every sense of the word. So if you're looking for a few simple actions you can take right now to start this journey, here are 3. First, make the decision. Tonight, before you sleep, decide on a percentage of your income, even if it's just 1%, that you'll set aside for your Freedom Fund. Then go to your bank's website and set up an automatic transfer. Automate your future. That one action, more than any other, will change your financial destiny. Second, become an investigator of your own finances. Next time you get a financial statement for a mutual fund or 401k, hunt for the fees. Use one of the free online tools Tony mentions to discover what you're really paying. Knowledge is the first step to keeping more of your own money. And third, practice the final secret. Find one small way to give today. Buy coffee for the person behind you in line. Donate a few dollars to a cause you believe in. Or just give your time and full attention to someone you love. Feel the shift inside you, because true wealth starts not in the bank account, but in the heart. That was a summary of Money, Master the Game by Tony Robbins. We've explored the core ideas today, but honestly, a summary can only scratch the surface. The real power of this book is in the details, the specific stories, the in-depth interviews, the way a certain phrase or idea can spark something inside you. This isn't just a collection of financial tips. It's a comprehensive system. If anything we've talked about today has resonated with you, I genuinely encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just learning. It's an experience that can fundamentally change your relationship with money and, in turn, your life. You can find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please click that like button and subscribe to our channel. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep growing together.